On the go? Download the free andrewhogue.com iPhone and Android app, so we'll never be apart. This is Andrew Hogue for andrewhogue.com, still Australia's only 24/7 metal radio station. And on the line, I have my good friend Dino Cazares. We've been acquainted for many, many years, and it's always a pleasure to chat with the great man, and also a pleasure again to be hearing more Fear Factory music. I know there's a lot of crazy things that are happening in the world right now, and also in Dino's world too. So let's get, again, reacquainted. Dino, how you doing?
Thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've been knowing each other for many years, and this is a conversation that we haven't had in a long time. So be happy to chat it up with you. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the brand new record will be dropping on the 18th of June called Aggression Continuum. I mean, I really want to talk more about the music. Obviously, the listen I've had is very, very brief. Of course, it is still Fear Factory, but then at the same time, the recent bombshell that the album's coming out with Burton on vocals, and he's decided to, leave the band. So how far into the making of this record before he sort of, pulled the pin? Did you know this was coming?
Well, kind of. We finished the record in 2017, and he just stopped talking to me and to the Fear Factory camp around that time. And so we kind of thought maybe, okay, we finished the record, we're each going through our own legal drama, so we thought maybe he just needed some time off to go through his stuff, go through his, his court dates and stuff like that. But it turned out that he left the band.
Now, you said 2017. So how does it feel? Because like I said, 4 years between a record to work on a record and go through all that sort of legal stuff. I mean, okay, how does it feel now that the album's finally finished and it is now making its way out to the public with a couple of singles already released? Is it kind of like a huge relief that it's done, and then now looking for a new singer? I mean, there's obviously a lot of mixed emotions. Just, share with me where you're at with the whole thing.
Yeah, well, it was very liberating to finally get the record out. So a lot of people who don't know, we finished the record in 2017, but there was a lot of legal issues regarding the trademark, which was preventing us from releasing the record under the name Fear Factory. So the record just sat there for three plus years, and while we were each going through our own little court battle. I was able to win in my court. Unfortunately, Bert didn't work out the same for him, and his 50% of the trademark ownership went up for auction because the court puts it up for auction. And so, it's just like anybody trying to bid on an eBay item, a pair of shoes on eBay. So I was able to win the bid over other people who were bidding as well. I won. I have full ownership of the trademark, so I was able to finally get the record, added some much needed improvements, and get it out now. So it's very liberating.
So how do you remain motivated going through all this shit? Because it's been a total shitstorm. We've seen it on Blabbermouth. I see your tweets. I mean, there's a lot of shit that goes with this business that a lot of people aren't aware of that can completely deflate your motivation and soul to a degree of the passion of playing music. So what is keeping you motivated throughout going through these situations?
What keeps me motivated is I still feel lucky that I get to do this job, and I like to put other people's happiness in front of mine. I believe in what I do. I believe in what I create. Since day one, I still have the love and passion for Fear Factory. And putting a smile on people's faces when they hear the riffs, they hear the music, that's what drives me. That's exactly what motivates me to keep going and not giving up. It takes a lot of self-drive, dedication, and discipline, and most musicians know that there's plenty of sacrifices we go through for our craft, some worse than others. In my situation, it's much worse. It's different and very unique. I really can't think of any band or band member that's gone through what I have gone through. But I'm here. I survived. And, no one died. It's all going to be okay. And you can't force, going back to the Burton situation, you can't really force someone to be there if he doesn't want to be there. I can see where everything that we've gone through could drive somebody away from this, like just get me away from all of this, because it could feel like there's a black cloud above you, just, constantly raining on your parade. So, but for me, I was like determined, and I believe that I came out in a more positive side than he did. And I look forward to moving forward and bringing you some killer music in the future.
Now, again, with the band's massive history, and to me, the band's always innovated. And we look at the music world today, there's more bands than almost fans now, it seems. Everyone is somewhat playing music, creating, home studios, all that sort of stuff. But then we look at the sounds as well. And I do believe over time, Fear Factory can at times be overlooked with their innovation of the clean singing into aggressive singing. I mean, you guys were doing that pretty much from day one, where it's just a staple today in the sounds of a lot of newer sort of bands. How do you feel when you look at what's happening out there today in music? It's a oversaturation of artists, and is there anything that you're hearing that's cutting through?
Yeah, I mean, I still hear new music coming out all the time. I mean, there's certain bands that it might take them years to break through. I mean, look at Gojira. It took them, years before they can break through. Whereas Fear Factory, it took us, our second record before we broke through. So everybody has, I think, a different time. You know what I mean? For instance, right now, I'm really getting into, newer bands like Spirit Box and, obviously Ginger and stuff like that. Bands that are really adding other elements into the music and moving forward. For me, when it comes to creating music, I believe in myself and I believe in my idea, and I dive into it head first and go for it. I don't fear change. I don't fear the future, and I don't fear what people are going to say. You can succeed, or you're not going to succeed without some. Sorry, I keep stuttering here, but without some sort of failure, you're not going to succeed. So, for me, I've always liked to blend different elements of music into Fear Factory, and yeah, sometimes I believe that, we were one of the first bands, if not the first band, to really popularize syncopated guitars and kick drums with brutal vocals mixed with beautiful angelic vocals. People kind of forget where that came from sometimes, and that part gets a little annoying, but for the most part, I'm really happy that we were able to influence somebody else to pick up the guitar, pick up a 7-string guitar, play drums, and sing like Burton. I'm really proud of the fact that we were successful in that way to influence other people. But I just think that sometimes over the years, because it's been a long time, 30 years, that the new school fans don't forget where that came from.
Now, as I mentioned about, you always have expressed your gratitude for what you do with Fear Factory. So if you could just name one of your greatest achievements being in this band, what would that be?
I would have to say, putting out a groundbreaking record like Demanufacture. When that record came out in 1995, it really fucking blew the doors down. People were really like, what the fuck? This is some new shit. And people just instantly fell in love with it. All the reviews were 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. And it was just something new that people really hadn't heard done in that way. And so I feel really grateful that I was able to make a record like that and people can still enjoy it today.
I'm still waiting on my triple gatefold vinyl that should be landing on my doorstep any day now. I've been tracking my UPS tracking site, so I'm looking forward to finally getting that onto the turntable.
Yeah, we were really cool. It was really cool that we were able to sync up with Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers owns those records now. And sync up with them and, talk to them about re-releasing that record, because it never got released on vinyl here in North America. So I thought it would be a good idea to do that. And they loved the idea. So they gave us the unmastered album. And so we were able to go in and master it for vinyl. and add less compression. So it probably, to me, it sounds a little more cleaner because the grooves inside the vinyl are a little wider. And so you're able to put more information into those grooves. And so the minute you put that needle on there, you're going to hear all those little intricacies that maybe you might have not have heard on CD, but that really stand out on this vinyl. And so I'm really proud that we were able to do that. Plus, we had 5 tracks from the Ozfest 1996. So at that time, the band was on fire. We were touring Demanufacture at that time, and those live tracks just sound amazing. Everybody was on point. Raymond was playing a little bit faster than the album, so it has a little bit more energy, and it sounds killer. I can't wait for everybody to get the vinyl and check it out.
Coming up with ideas for Fear Factory, because like I said, you have a trademark sound, and that's pretty rare today when it comes to bands, because I've often said this, and I believe I've said this a few times in interviews, that I think Phil Anselmo said it perfectly when it comes to talking to newer bands. He was quoted a couple of years ago telling people, rip off 20 of your favourite bands, not 2. That way you kind of have a melting pot of all your influences and you kind of come out sounding like yourself instead of a hybrid of 2 of your favourite bands, which I'm noticing more and more today, that most bands are picking their favourite 2 or 3 and that's their sound instantly. Oh, you sound like Lamb of God, or they sound like Killswitch or whatever. Whereas, like I said, Fear Factory have their own sound, but how do you keep it fresh within the sound that you have, when you're coming up with new riffs, even though it's still you and it's your sound and it's what's expected because it's your creation? How do you remain challenged with riffs?
Well, first of all, I love playing fucking guitar. I just love it. I always got a guitar around me all the time, so I'm always coming up with something. And I always try to record it as much as possible because, out of the 50 riffs I write, there might only be about 2 or 3 that I'm going to use because those are the ones that really stand out and sound maybe slightly different than what I've done, in the past, right? And it's also keeping your ear to the ground. You know what I mean? It's like what are other people doing? What are new bands doing? Because sometimes you could be inspired by a new band that might have been inspired by whoever, right? Because sometimes, some of those new bands are kind of groundbreaking. So you want to check out what's going on and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you realize, okay, there's nothing out there that really influences me. So I'm just going to go back to what I've created in the past and use that as an influence. It may sound funny, but yeah, sometimes I can go back to Demanufacture Obsolete and say, hey, what did I do back in? Okay, well, maybe I can apply some of that to what I'm doing now. So not necessarily you're repeating, but maybe as far as structure-wise or maybe as far as a tone, but not necessarily a riff. Movies are a big thing that really influenced me. Listening to other score, just watching a movie, that a scene can inspire a riff. Sometimes there could be a badass scene and you're like, oh, fuck, it's so amazing. All of a sudden, it just gives me the urge to pick up the guitar and write a riff. So that's one way that things influence me. And collaborating with other musicians as well. We've had 5 different keyboardists on this record, and collaborating with them and just seeing how they would interpret the song or a sound or a tone or, whatever it is that they want to try to add into to what I created on top of it. Sometimes that can influence a change. Reese Wilbur could write a keyboard part and it could be amazing. Like, but I could change the riff to this. And so sometimes collaborating with other people influence me as well.
Now, like I mentioned, the new record, Aggression Continuum, will be out on the 18th of June. And I saw a recent article about the fact of looking for a new singer. Obviously, have you begun that process? Is it open for Australian vocalists to apply?
It's open to everybody around the world to apply. Yes, for sure. We've been very overwhelmed with a lot of video submissions that people have sent us, and going through them is definitely a big task because there's a lot to go through. And there's some very, very talented musicians out there, singers that want to be a part of the project. But it's the process of trying to pick pick the right person to move forward. And there's a lot of, little things here and there that they need to have besides being talented. It's all about chemistry. Are we going to, am I going to get along with everybody else? Going to get along with this guy? Is this guy going to be someone that you can move forward with? Because there's a lot of musicians that I've played with over the years that were somewhat unknown. Bring them into the band, you put them out on tour, and then they really can't handle being on the road that long. So you gotta find someone who's going to be a road dog, who's going to be out there performing every night. And for me, this is my life. This is what I chose as my life's career. So being out there on the road is part of the benefit of being in a band. To me, some people don't always see it that way, but that's how I see it. And I love being out there, being able to entertain and talk to everybody, and meeting the fans. I love that. So you got to find that right guy who's going to be able to handle all that. Plus, you got to realize that whoever comes in is going to be filling some big shoes, and you got to be able to be tough when it comes to handling the media, because everybody's going to be comparing you to the last guy. Everybody's going to be, saying, "Oh, he's not as good as the other guy," whatever. You got to be able to find someone to handle that, and that's a big part of it as well.
Like I said, Burton's been with the group since day one as well. So on a musical level, what will you miss about not having him on stage with you? Because like I said, it's almost a marriage that's ended somewhat. Is there anything that you're thinking, wow, I'm starting again in the sense of a new vocalist, and it's going to be completely fresh and new for you to look over, and there's completely somebody else, not what you're used to. Is there anything you've thought about that you're like, damn, I'm gonna miss that. I've got to try and, how do I put it? Get that back, or
fill the void.
Yeah, fill the void.
Well, I've been in this situation before. I was at a Fear Factory in 2002, and I had to start other bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And plus, that's kind of been my thing. I've always started other bands like Brujeria, Asesino, Divine Heresy. Those were all new musicians that were not a part of Fear Factory. Well, Tony became a part of Fear Factory later on, but those are all those bands that when I started, they were not part of Fear Factory. So I've been in this situation before where I've been left out in the cold, high and dry. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? So I start Divine Heresy. That was all new musicians, stuff like that. So I've been in this situation before, and I'm pretty sure they can handle it again, no problem. Sure, it might be at first a little weird looking over, and it's not Bert singing, and it's somebody else. But I'm confident enough that I'm sure I'm going to pick the right guy, that feeling will be gone pretty quickly.
Well, we can get you to choose your favourite song from the up-and-coming album, Aggression Continuum, and also just one of your favourite Fear Factory tracks of all time from, what is this album, 15 now, I think? The catalogue's enormous.
Well, if it's a studio album, it's studio album number 10.
10, yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, we've had other releases, EPs and remix albums and the best of and the B-sides and blah, 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 yeah. But my favorite song on this record right now has to be the title track, Aggression Continuum, just because it has a ripping riff, it has a great chorus. The intro is also from a movie called Monsters of Man, which came out, I think, a year ago or so. And in the beginning, the dialogue is where the human is telling the AI that, look, you're not human. You were just put here to afflict death. And the AI, because the AI has been programmed to believe it's human, it doesn't believe that it's not human. So it's part of the concept of the record, and it's just one of those songs that rips. And I love the chorus.
And one of your favorite Fear Factory tracks of all time?
I would have to say South by Resistor was one of my favorite tracks, because I remember discussing that song with Burton, and I said, hey, look, we need a really positive chorus, right? And he did. He wrote a very positive chorus that says, basically the song is being self-aware, being an individualist, and not take all the lies, even though they've tried to break us. We are still standing, and we are still existing and moving forward. And that song really touches me, and it has one of my favorite riffs in it. So.
Well, while we're quickly on the subject of that, I know we're going to wrap it up, but like I said, Fear Factory's always been a forward-moving group, especially lyrically when it comes to AI and technology, and no bands were singing about that subject in the early 90s at all, and a lot of this stuff was sort of in its infancy. Now when we look at technology, we're the masters who created it. Now we've become the slaves to it. I mean, it's like you guys sort of predicted the future in some sort of sense of the word. And as much as we love all these amazing tools, it's really corrupting a lot of the way we treat each other as humans. Are you hopeful for the future?
I'm very hopeful for the future. You know, we are creating stuff that's supposedly supposed to be making our lives easier as far as communication, but unfortunately, you know, all this lies and corruption are coming through our, you know, internet, and people are just absolute assholes to each other, and you can't get away with anything, unfortunately. Not that you need to get away with anything, but you can't say anything without somebody having a different opinion. And just, you know, obviously look at our political climate. You know, that was all due through social media. We've always talked about, you know, Big Brother being watched, and you know how technology, how we've become addicted to technology. I mean, people lose their phones, misplace their phones for 5 seconds, and they freak out.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But we can't live without it. That's the problem.
Yeah, we can't live without it. I mean, and you know, it's got its benefits and definitely its drawbacks. And one of the benefits is like, look, I get to talk to you. You know, Zoom, you get to talk to people FaceTime, and I love that part because it just makes the world closer to each other, right?
Yeah.
But in some cases, you know, obviously a lot of things leak through the internet, and people start believing these weird, fucking far out conspiracy theories, and they have violent reactions. You know, storming the Capitol here in the United States. You know, riots and, you know, protests. You know, over nothing.
Yeah, so overreactions.
Overreactions, correct.
Well, thanks so much again for your time, man. It's always great to catch up and reconnect, and hopefully when this COVID garbage lifts, we can get the band back into Australia whenever we're allowed to let people in, because Australia is a prisoner island in a lot of ways now, and has been for the last year and a half. It's been pretty crazy, but, you know, I've said this to many people that, you know, generations way before us have done it far worse. So this will hopefully lift very, very soon. And like I said, you know, Australia's almost the second home for you guys. You've toured here probably more than any metal band that I can recall. I think, 15 tours maybe, give or take?
I can't even tell you how many times you've been there, but it's been plenty of times, and I can't wait to go back there again. You know, Australia has always been our home away from home, and we had our first gold record there in Australia. Is it gold or is it silver? I'm not sure, but
gold.
It was our first gold record year. Yeah. So so the next thing for us is to get this record out June 18th. We're also going to be putting out another video for another single. The next single is going to be called Recode, and it will have the sequel to the last video for Disruptor. So we'll be moving forward with that. And then after that, you know, get the record out, announce a new singer, announce a tour, and we'll be touring wherever the world allows us to.
Awesome. Well, I'll certainly be watching the space and look forward to seeing what the future holds for Fear Factory. So again, thanks so much for your time, Dino. Let's hear some Fear Factory now on andrewhogue.com. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.